Welcome back, guys. The monthly report is here, and March was an absolutely monumental month for development, paving the way for the release of Alpha 4.7 and setting the stage for some incredibly exciting, game-changing features in Alpha 4.8. Today, we are going through the entire monthly report. We will be talking about the massive strides in server meshing, the complete shift in the game's economy, the staggering progress on the Drake Kraken, and the brand new creatures hitting the verse. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's dive right into it. AI content. Starting off with the AI content team. Last month saw AI make numerous fixes while continuing to build for the future. With Alpha 4.7 releasing at the end of March, the team fixed a series of bugs, including an elusive issue where station NPCs were offset from their benches. At the same time, support was provided for upcoming mission content, with the team incorporating placeholder script recordings and setting up comm calls. This allows the directors and designers to have a better understanding of the intended experience, while also allowing the writers to hear and adjust the script as needed. AI then continued to look at building behaviors for new initiatives that they're excited to announce soon. AI features and tech. Moving into a much heavier section, let's talk about AI features and tech. For Alpha 4.7, this team solved issues caused by inclusions after breaching and looked into various bugs. In particular, they fixed civilians getting stuck in the cower position. They also restored the intended de-escalation behavior when combat NPCs exit combat, which makes encounters feel much more natural. Various crash fixes were implemented, while updates were made to navigation link generation to connect them closer to individual navigational mesh edges. The team updated the behavior used by NPCs moving through doors with manual controls, alongside general improvements to the functionality of NPCs requesting a path to end location to check whether a location is traversable. On the development side, some really exciting additional work was done on the Apex Valakkar. Now, the creature will be limited to moving within its arena, will emerge after a set number of seconds, and will request a despawn if not damaged sufficiently within a set time frame. Meanwhile, the Kopion now uses motive patterns that have been upgraded with a pack-like growling and circling behavior when attacking. It sounds terrifying. The juvenile Valakkar can also use this motive pattern. For Star Paws, improvements were made to the motive behavior parameter usability. Elsewhere, numerous general PU crashes were fixed. Animation. Over in animation, March saw the team working on snake and worm type enemies, including creating new behavior animations. The facial animation team began processing the content from February's performance capture shoot. This includes content for Alpha 4.8's new mission, where players will meet 2 new characters, as well as a new news broadcast for Levski. Art characters. Looking at art characters, the character art team progressed heavily with projects for Alpha 4.8 alongside in-game assets. They continued to work on new gang outfits and support Starware. The concept art team also spent the month exploring some brand new heavy combat armors, which we absolutely cannot wait to see in the verse. Art ships. Alright, let's dive into art ships because there is a massive amount of progress here. In the UK, the ship's team progressed with the Gaitak Raylan, preparing it for its Greybox Gate review at the end of March. As part of this, the team brought up some areas of the ship to later pipeline standards to help set the tone for larger Gaitak-style spaces. The Greycat UTV wrapped up testing and is awaiting its release into the PU. The ship's team mentioned, "We're hoping players will have as much fun with this little vehicle as we did making it." The MISC Hull B had its combined LOD0 and final gate review. This was due to some teams coming onto aspects late, which would cause the earlier gate to technically not be passed. However, all other teams' work was done for the later stage. The Drake Ironclad, Ironclad Assault, and Command module all progressed through their LOD0 phases, with the team starting a full lighting and detail pass across all 3 to unify the visuals. Alongside this, the team returned to the Caterpillar to set it up for the Command module. Several several devs moved back onto the RSI Galaxy after a small hiatus, helping other projects out. Like other ships in pre-production, they went over the original layout and made adjustments, both for flow and to make use of the ever-growing asset library, all while keeping true to the role and intent of the ship. This involved adjusting the front half of the lower deck to be less isolated and prevent it from leading to a dead end. Other areas were also adjusted to current metrics using suitable assets from other RSI ships. 5 unannounced vehicles also progressed throughout March. The first successfully passed both its whitebox and graybox reviews and is on track for its LOD0 review shortly. The team has made great progress on this ship as it has grown from an initially simple idea into something much more complex. The second approached its LOD0 review with the devs moving through the interior while other teams such as UI started work on the required updates. The third passed its graybox gate review and is approaching its LOD0 review at the start of April. The team made some minor adjustments to the cockpit to give the player a better view alongside more refined inputs on the control stick. As mentioned in last month's report, the fourth ship had its graybox gate review following review and feedback implementation. Although this delayed the progress slightly, it will result in a much stronger end result. The UK team's final unannounced ship progressed toward its whitebox review. This is turning out to be quite complex in terms of animations and states, but the end result will be worth it. In North America, the team continued with the mighty Drake Kraken. The capital ship successfully passed its whitebox gate review, which is a major milestone for what will be the largest player-flyable ship on release. The team then concentrated their efforts on the main hero rooms, such as engineering core traversal routes through the ship and implementing the new bespoke manned turrets and weapons, alongside final support for the release of the RSI Aurora Mark II. An unannounced vehicle continued through the graybox phase. Minor adjustments were made to the flow to aid traversal in the rear half of the ship, and additional windows were added throughout. Audio. Moving to audio. Last month, the audio team successfully delivered their work for Alpha 4.7. This involved producing an engaging sound experience to support the visually stunning new dungeon experience. The audio team said, "We're proud of our rock-cracking sound design and the more immersive ambient experiences we're now adding to each release. The music design team are expanding the universe with the sweet notes from our composer, Pedro, who provides that extra layer of magic. We are expanding the value of musical input and will be bringing more composed music within the game than previous years." The team also provided the new Claw Salamander enemies with a unique language, adding more threat and value to NPC conflict. Following this, they began designing further language packs for future builds. Some of the vehicle audio devs also visited Jared on Star Citizen Live to discuss the increasingly elevated vehicle experience, showing that as more new vehicles approach, the team is continuing to lift the soundscape of the flight experience. Community. For the community team, they kicked off March by publishing the February PU monthly report and announcing the winners of the Coromore Love Story and Red Festival Earn Fortune contests. They supported Stella Fortuna with a catch-all thread and a video contest dedicated to racers. They heavily supported the release of Alpha 4.7 Welcome to the Rock. They published a patch watch, an Operation Breaker Station's FAQ, and a crafting guide on the first implementation of this game-changing new mechanic. They also created an informative Q&A for the RSI Aurora Mark II, updated the new player guide, and continued to plan Bar Citizen events around the world, including the Level Up Expo in Las Vegas. Core gameplay. Now let's get into the heavy hitters. Core gameplay. The core gameplay team spent part of March progressing hacking, with the devs polishing items, improving the tutorial, and ensuring the UI is always correctly aligned to the player. Various improvements were made to weapon handling, such as switching back to the previously held weapon after using a med pen. And now, when equipping a new knife from the ground, the player character will store their currently held weapon or entity unless it can be stored. Significant work was done toward crafting, which debuted in Alpha 4.7. March's tasks included implementing minimum quality requirements for blueprint aspects and the ability to dismantle items that weren't previously crafted. crafted. Various additions were implemented too, including the ability to define which blueprints are entitled to the player by default, a heads-up display notification when a player receives a blueprint, material and quality information added to the tractor beam display, and the ability to stack resource containers with the same quality. Players can now also view owned and unowned blueprints in the crafting UI. Paging support was given for the crafting machine instead of infinite scrolling for better performance, and new resource thumbnails were added to the crafting machine, freight elevator, and inventory. Resource and quality tracking for freight elevators and inventories was standardized too. For engineering, the devs added collapsing headers to the diagnostics MFD, specific warnings to the notifications panel, and color ranges for damaged components on the engineering screen. Updates were also made to the refueling mechanic. These involved various changes to the docking flow, allowing any ship to initiate the docking procedure. This means that the refueling ship, like a starfarer, can initiate docking and back up to dock with the ship that needs refueling. Auto-docking now triggers when the two ships are close enough, and they automatically undock whenever the refueling process is complete. Progress continued on Drake's command module, with the team integrating the resource network into the module's handoff procedure, making sure that the host and parasite ship properly connect to the same network. Functionality was also implemented to ensure that the shield faces correctly update when the command module is docked and undocked. The transport system is now largely feature complete and going through iteration for workflow improvements and scalability. The setup for Area 18 was completed, which will be used for the initial tech preview tests. The team addressed major issues that caused doors to open into the void and laid the foundation for self-repair functionality. Toward the mission system, the team fixed various issues causing rewards to not be correctly attributed. Progress began on implementing Mission 5.2 functionality into Starchitect, including the ability to dynamically create mission locations without designer intervention, greatly improving the speed of development. The inventory rework continued too, finalizing remaining elements and fixing bugs. Ship hangar servicing had its first playable gate, and finally the team is preparing to move on to social features. Creature content. Under the new creature content section, March saw the formation of this entirely new team to focus on the ongoing development of Starpaw's features. Alongside focusing on improvements to the technical pipeline, the team progressed with a number of new creatures. Alpha 4.7 introduced some early results of these technical pipeline upgrades, with variants of the Valakkar that have grown accustomed to their icy environment. In March, additional design work went toward upcoming creatures while planning improvements for existing ones, including mesh and behavior updates. Economy. The economy section brings some massive foundational changes. March saw the economy team moving on to features for Alpha 4.8, which will bring new item crafting, commodity trading, and item recovery systems to the verse. The economy team stated, "It is important to note that the current Alpha 4.7 crafting implementation is transitional. For example, we are being generous with high-end Sevrilium ore to pull players into the mining and fabrication pipeline. Our goal is to move away from a credits-only mindset and toward alternate progression systems, such as crafting, reputation, and more." Operation Breaker Station serves as a key example. While it currently offers a high UEC profit margin to encourage players to engage, its true purpose is to function as a resource hub. By paying a buy-in, players trade currency for the convenience of guaranteed high-value material gathering to build high-end personal armor and FPS weapons. As the economy stabilizes, shop pricing for crafted goods will reflect material quality. The ultimate goal is to move away from a profitable NPC sell loop and toward a gear and player-centric economic model. In the final state, these locations will be the go-to spots for crafters to convert credits into exact materials, prioritizing quality over raw UEC profit. Game intelligence development. For game intelligence development, the team focused heavily on the design and planning for mission system 5.2. They collaborated with mission designers to refine how the new system would work and how to expose scripting tools. They iterated on a UI prototype for the mission interface. They also began work on a new tool to facilitate the development of the new mission system, refining its architecture based on stakeholder feedback to serve as a strong foundation. Level design, UK and DE. In level design, UK and DE, the primary focus was on Nix's social stations and the QV breaker station locations, which went live in Alpha 4.7. Elsewhere, the team worked toward multiple future deliverables, including tactical strike groups and the Siege of Orison rework. They also began to prepare for a major new location. Finally, the devs fixed legacy bugs in Stanton and Pyro while supporting new technical initiatives, including the transport refactor and Starchitect. Mission design. Moving to mission design, the team completed the second Nix mission pack, expanding content and moving some factions to a reputation scope. The team brought back the courier system along with adding delivery contracts to bridge the gap between hauling and courier missions. This included modifying rooftop deliveries in New Babbage and ArcCorp to allow players to drop off 1 SCU boxes. Mission support was added to the QV breaker stations. Tactical strike groups continued to be polished alongside refueling and defend location missions. With the recent changes to ship armor, the team kicked off a major rebalancing of ship-based mission combat, aiming to give players information up front on what ships they might encounter so they can choose an appropriate loadout. Finally, they are approaching the first playable state of the new Battaglia missions, Narrative. For Narrative, the team continued tasks for upcoming gameplay operations. They crafted storylines for several new engaging missions, one of which will see the return of an old foe. They prepared for their next performance capture session in April to record story mission scripts. They also began planning an eventual overhaul of the current item descriptions to accommodate future revisions of the inventory and fabrication systems, and continued working with Starchitect to develop how missions will evolve on planet surfaces. Online technology. Now for one of the most critical sections, online technology. In March, the network team focused heavily on advancing the foundation for server meshing. A central part of this involved Quasi-Dynamic Server Meshing, or QDSM, which intelligently distributes areas of the game world across dedicated servers based on current load. The team completed a second round of testing, resolving a bug where multiple game zones were incorrectly assigned to the same server, and made the system more efficient by removing a global performance bottleneck causing thread contention. On stability, several crashes and thread safety issues in server management were resolved. The team made solid progress on the next generation of the Territory Manager. They also progressed with a technical design document for a new versioning and patching system. For the Live Tools team, the Bootstrap user interview phase wrapped up. Panic Switch received bug fixes and improved crash handling robustness. Hex, the game dashboard, continued its 4.0 modernization, delivering the blueprint viewer. The online services team made significant progress moving mission completion logic directly into the back-end service, making it more reliable and future-proof. The mission system was expanded to support entity-owned missions, opening the door for new instanced content. Online services also advanced the item imprint feature, which allows players to truly own their items. They worked on lazy inventory creation, making the game smarter about creating inventory records, and did technical design for regional chats. R&D. In R&D, ongoing ground fog work continued, with a test build handed over to Tech Art. The ability to gather thread names was added to the dump log tool. Crucially, the shader compiler server that services the build pipeline was substantially refactored. A proper thread pool implementation was added, and load balancing was significantly improved. An LRU scheme was added to automatically evict outdated shaders, and support for processing limits was added to terminate jobs exceeding memory thresholds. All of this should massively help improve server stability and reduce resource usage. Tech art/animation. For tech art and animation, the team progressed with characters, creatures, and cloth simulation. Head exports for 2 new named PU characters progressed through the DNA and rig logic pipeline. They reduced per character rig logic memory overheads, directly improving NPC density and performance, and resolved a critical DNA compilation blocker. The super heavy combat armor animation set is being brought from Squadron 42 across to the persistent universe player character, and binocular aim-down sights transitions were finalized. For interactables, they are implementing the flaming torch held animation and completing food prop tech animation. Starcloth, the physics-based cloth simulation system, saw substantial improvements, resulting in more performant and physically believable clothing on PU characters. VFX. And finally, capping it off with VFX. For Alpha 4.7, VFX focused on finishing Nyx's QV Breaker Station locations, such as the Laser Room and Spacescaping, alongside hero moments like the laser and asteroid interior. Finally, the Greycat UTV and MISC Hull B received VFX passes and bug fixing. And there you have it, citizens, the complete uncut breakdown of the March monthly report, the transition toward resource gathering, the massive leaps in quasi-dynamic server meshing, and the constant influx of new ships and creatures show exactly where this game is heading. Drop a comment below and let me know which specific update blew your mind the most this month. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the verse.